So today is going to be a more training-based webinar where we hit that subject on the head and help you build your LinkedIn profile. It's going to be impactful. It's going to be for 45 minutes. We're going to keep it quick. We're going to keep it for time. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and you will see that throughout the session as we go through, and I will do my best to get them answered either during or at the end if we've got a little bit of time. And finally, we want you to interact. We're going to run 2 or 3 polls throughout the session today, so please get involved. The insight that you give to each other, and there's over nearly 110 people now on this, the insight that we share with each other will be really powerful to help us use this to make sure we get better LinkedIn profiles. So please interact as much as you can. So we are joined today by the sales training guru, the #1 sales trainer in well, it's definitely the UK. I was going to say the world, so I don't want to exaggerate just too much, but definitely in the UK, the ISM Sales Trainer of the Year, Nicole Plinston. How are you, Nicole?
I'm good, thank you. What an intro. I don't know.
Good. Well, I knew you wouldn't do it, so I have to do it. I have to do it for you. So I'm going to hand over to you to kick off our training.
Yeah, I'm just going to share my screen. This is where it normally goes wrong with my technology skills. We're going to give it a go. Can you see that?
We can.
Brilliant. Okay, so just to give you an idea, over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to show you a number of ways in which you can generate more sales through LinkedIn just by making a few quick and simple changes to the way you brand yourself online. So I'm going to start by looking at the importance of building a personal brand that's strong and how to optimize your LinkedIn profile to get the best results. We'll also be looking at the importance of networking with the right audience, and then to finish off, we'll be taking you through some top tips for content creation, what works and what doesn't, and how to measure the success of your content. Before we launch into personal brand, I'm just going to share with you some powerful LinkedIn stats that all salespeople really do need to take notice of. So if I can bring those up, with more and more purchasing decisions being influenced by buyers and what they see online, now more than ever, we need to be focusing on our branding online ourselves. So 81% of buyers are more likely to engage with a strong personal brand. More than 7 out of 10 buyers are influenced by social media when deciding to purchase a product or service. And 52% of buyers listed LinkedIn as the most influential channel during their research processes. And then to top it off, LinkedIn is 277% more effective at generating leads than Twitter and Facebook. So whether we like it or not, building a strong online presence will become a salesperson's biggest asset in the long term. Now, our industry is becoming more and more about branding and social selling. It's not solely about prospecting and cold calling anymore. So we need to be great at both. And we're going to start by looking at personal brand. Now, the easiest way to identify what makes a great personal brand and how to create one is to first recognize what traits and characteristics stand out to you. What do you relate to when you think that's a great personal brand? So then we were going to put this out, weren't we, Neil?
We are. So we'd like you to interact with this bit. So in the chat, if you could let me know and let Nicole know whose personal brand you admire and why. Obviously, let's keep it short and sweet. Please put that into the chat. I'm going to kick it off, Nicole.
I've got yours on there, haven't I?
I'm going to kick it off, and the gentleman's face is on your slide with David Beckham.
Yes, so I actually put this question out to a few people that signed up to the webinar and asked them that question of whose personal brand do you most admire and why, and I've put a few of them on the screen there. When we asked them why, some of the words they came up with were quite common, but also aligned really clearly. So they weren't anything fancy, it was just very relatable stuff. Not dissimilar to what Neil came up with about David Beckham, although Neil did say it was because he was like him. Aside of that, a lot of the reasons given, I'm not going to share them just yet because I'm interested to see what other people are saying they believe a strong personal brand to be. What's coming up, Neil?
We've got Tyson Fury is in there. We've got Sophie's put Ellen DeGeneres. I can't even say it. DeGeneres, is that it? I know it. We know who she is. We've got Jurgen Klopp from Rob Hanna. Hi, Rob. The Rock from Alex Graham. We've got Grace Beverly. Who's Grace Beverly? Molly. Molly's put Grace Beverly. Nadal. Ronaldo. We've got Roger Federer, class act. God, the list really goes.
Okay. So the words that we were provided with by the people that we asked before, and then noticed that we did this with our team a couple of weeks ago as well. The most common words that we associate with a strong personal brand or good personal brand were relatable, successful, no ego, although I don't agree with some of those. The ego is definitely there on a few of those on the board. Respectful, achiever, honest and genuine, but more importantly, hardworking. That came up a lot. So the two that came up top were relatable and hardworking. So we were really looking at those going, well, they're key commonalities that we've identified with, that we feel that if we were looking at someone that we go, do you know what, they've got a great personal brand, these are reasons why. So when you're thinking about how you create a great personal brand, you need to think, well, what stands out to me? If I'm looking at someone and I admire their personal brand, what is it about their personal brand that I admire? Because that's probably what other people admire as well when they're looking at people's personal brands. So we're going to start putting a personal brand together for you guys. I'll give you some top tips of how to do this. Your personal brand is ultimately your reputation. It's as simple as that. It's what allows you to stand out, it makes an impact, and it sounds a little bit different to everybody else. So ultimately, your brand is you. You need to be great at being you. If you want your brand to stick, you need it to be consistent and genuine with your messaging. So you've got to be authentic. I think we identified with personal brands, we buy into them because they're genuine. So the more genuine you are when you're branding yourself, the better. That means don't jump on bandwagons. Originality will always be more impactful and memorable than imitation. So don't jump on any bandwagons. Post what you believe will engage your audience. Now, your brand is built up of three key things. So number one, your character, what you stand for, what your values are. Number two, your competence. So this is where your knowledge and expertise comes into play. The experiences you've had in your life, they're unique to you. So you need to use those. Now, whether you've been in your career for 2 months or 20 years, it doesn't matter. You've still had experiences that you can utilize. And thirdly, your personality. So your key traits, what really does define you and your personality. Those are the things that really build a strong personal brand. So the best starting point for you is really quick, it's really simple, it's really easy. It's an exercise that's going to take you less than a minute to do. You just simply need to write down 3 traits that you believe truly define your personality and values. Then every time you post or you come up with a piece of content, you need to ask yourself, does that match up to my personality traits? Does that align to my values? And if it doesn't, don't post it. That's how you build a personal brand. Each comment, each post makes an impression. That's an impression on your personal brand. So you need to ensure that consistency piece is always there in your messaging. And that way you begin to a personal brand development that you really want. So remember, we are in a saturated and competitive market nowadays. You have to make yourself and your brand more noticeable. Now, we said about it earlier, 81% of buyers are more likely to engage with a strong personal brand. So if you're looking at your brand right now and going, it's not what I want it to be, now is the time to change it. And the best platform to promote a brand, especially in business, is LinkedIn.
Cool. So yeah, just wanted to go back to a couple of the chat actually that's come in. So firstly, Molly, thank you for pointing out who Grace is. She's the youngest female on the Forbes 30 under 30. So you learn something every day. Simon, great to see you out there also supporting the David Beckham fan club. Aaron, we had Conor McGregor, and Chris, Barry Manilow. So there we go. That was what I wasn't expecting to hit, but we all know him. There we go. So we're going to run our first poll. What we'd like to do is get you to rate your current LinkedIn profile out of 100. Obviously, be as honest as possible. We want you to rate your current LinkedIn profile out of 100, with 100 obviously being a world class. You couldn't and wouldn't change a thing. So I'm going to launch the poll now.
Okay, right. While people are answering that, just to make you aware, your LinkedIn profile is your biggest free advert that you have online. So you have to optimize it. People will look at your personal profile more than your company's page. So it has to be representative of what you do. You need to start thinking to yourself, what is my LinkedIn profile saying about me? And if it's not saying what I want it to say, now is the time to start working on it and looking at it as an advert for you. It's yours, it's free, and it's huge. How's the poll looking?
Yeah, so interestingly, so I'm going to end it here. Nice to see we've got 124 on, and we've had nearly 100 people take part in the poll. So thank you very much. I think the others might have just nipped to the toilet. Who knows? But anyway, we're going to go through the results of it. So I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results now. So hopefully you can see the results, which shows that 38% of us, so the majority of the poll, are saying that you would rate your LinkedIn profile between 51 to 75%. But it's also interesting to see there's only 9% of people that would rate their profile above 76%. So I think we've got a little bit of work to do, Nicole.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're all in agreement that I'm sure we all feel that there's more we can be doing with our LinkedIn profile. So what I'm going to do is just take a look now at what does make a great LinkedIn profile, and just give you a few top tips. So the first thing you need to start thinking about is rule number one: your profile is not your CV. So don't write it as if it is. It's about what your target audience want to see. So when you are coming up with your profile, think about who's going to be viewing your profile, who are you trying to attract to your profile, and then write your content with them in mind. It should be telling your audience how you can help them. You're advertising right now what you do and how you do it, and your profile needs to do that for you. Your profile also needs to continue promoting your personal brand, remember, so that consistency is key. So always think character, competence, personality, always keep it genuine and authentic. And your profile picture. So this is always a big discussion point, especially in our team. A profile picture is the first thing people are going to see. So what is yours saying about you? Is it current? Is it relevant? Do you even have one? Scarily, some people don't have one. And LinkedIn profiles with photos get 21 times more views than profiles with no photo. So make sure you've got one. Also, it's important to know that professional photo will on average get 14 times more views than a profile that's just of any other image. So think about your profile picture. It's important to nail that one. The second thing is your headline. It's the first thing people are going to read. So it needs to be impactful. Again, your headline has to outline what you do. There is a big difference between what you are, which is your job title, and what you do, which is the results you deliver for your customers. So get that across in your headline. A bugbear of mine, never write your content in the third person. It's just really impersonal and really off-putting. Remember, you're building a brand here, so make it personal, make it genuine. And an important one again, make your profile content sticky. So rich media content, you want people to hang around your profile for longer. You want them reading what's on there. So think, who are you talking to when you're writing it? Are you talking to your future clients, customers, potential candidates? Whatever it is, just think, be concise, be relevant, be engaging, don't be boring. And if someone does make it to the bottom of your profile, you're doing a good job. What they're doing is they're heading towards your recommendations, your skills, your experience. They're potentially looking for proof that what you're saying above is actually true. So if you've got recommendations, that's great because they make you credible, but try and have some that are more relevant to your current role right now, because that will kick in quite well. So we're going to give you an example of a profile.
Whose example of profile we're going to show?
Oh, it's a really good one.
Profile. So I'll take this bit only because I know, Nicole, you won't want to pick yourself up too much. But before I do that, I just want to get back to Chris. Chris has pointed out quite rightly that Barry Manilow has spanned a career now for and his values for over 45 years. So I think he's got a very, very fair point on Barry making the most admired list that we went through before. But in terms of strong profiles and what it's all about, we're showing Nicole's here. We practice what we preach. So what you will see under Nicole's name on the right-hand side is her headline. Straight away, it shows credibility. UK's #1 sales trainer. You might not all be award winners. We might be striving to do that, but I'm pretty sure the stuff that you've achieved that you can have in there that gives you that elevator pitch. Selling a headline is no different to selling on a cold call. It's that 30 seconds to gain the interest, and once you've gained the interest, it will be whether people read on or whether they don't. It also tells people not what she is, but what she does. And you'll see that by placing the best sales talent in the UK's best businesses. That headline is strong, it's credible, it tells what she is and not what she does, and it's now basically got the opportunity to move on to the about column. The about paragraph now is really, really important. It poses 3 questions, which she's added in there, and it's basically all aimed at her target market, businesses that we want to place sales graduates within. It's really important that you speak to your target market if you want to gain their interest. It also, like all sales, finishes off with a call to action. If you don't have a call to action, then people don't know what to do next. So even if it says drop me an email or call to find out, it's telling the person on your profile what to do next and how to get in touch. Awesome profile, Nicole.
Well, thanks. I think the most important point here is if your profile is not telling your target audience how and why you can help them, then we need to change it. Because as I said before, like, this is a free platform view. This is you to promote what you do. If you don't utilize in that way, you're losing out on opportunities that cost you nothing. So very important, building that personal brand. Got a couple of actions off the back of that. Before we move into content creation, which I know is a big topic, just want to quickly touch on the importance of your network. It is really important to recognize the difference between network and reputation. So your network is who you know, but your reputation, your personal brand, is who knows you. So in theory, you build your brand, the better your network, the bigger your reputation, which is great. But as much as a strong brand and a strong network are the key to success, to benefit from your network, you have to be building your network in the right place with the right people, so your target audience. I know myself, I've got a network which some people in it probably aren't as relevant as others, but they're in there. So we have to always think, if I'm going to be putting all this effort into my LinkedIn profile, my content creation, it's going to be completely wasted if I'm being continue to be the best kept secret in my industry sector because I'm targeting the wrong network. So when you're building your LinkedIn, think, am I targeting the right audience? Because I really need to be speaking to the right people. So a great way to build your network is to find out what conversations are we having in your industry sector, in your space. Show up there, listen closely, connect with those people, and then most importantly, start adding value. That's how you're going to build your reputation and your brand with your target audience, by getting involved and actively contributing to the industry that you're in.
I think what's really important here is you connecting with the right people. I think we've all been found guilty of using LinkedIn on our phone, where you can just connect, and so on. By building the numbers doesn't add value. What you should be doing is connecting with people that can add value to you and your business. And that's what this is all about. Don't connect with anybody, connect with the right people. So we want to kind of move on to the next poll. The next poll is, how often do you post on LinkedIn each week? And again, we want you to be honest. So remember, every week, how often do you post on LinkedIn? So I'm going to set the poll live now.
Okay. Off it goes. So it's an interesting one, because I think content creation is the biggest question we get a lot, like what makes a good post, and can I get targeted, how do I notice people? If you're anything like me, the first and biggest question that comes into my head as soon as I turn to LinkedIn is, what the hell am I going to talk about? What the hell am I going to post today? And I definitely know what not to talk about right now. Things like coronavirus, working from home, working from the kids, furlough, because these have literally been exhausted over the last week. So it's like, what do I come up with? What's new? The big question is, what makes good content? Good content. And it's actually more simple than I think we probably realise, because good content is whatever is relevant to your audience, so to the people that are going to consume it. So your starting point has to be, what is relevant right now, what engages my target audience, and what posts do they most commonly like or comment on, and why. So if you know who your ideal audience is, identify what content's engaging them right now, and then create your own content with your own stamp and brand on it, because the overall objective is you need to create engagement that will eventually help you to sell. Have we got results from the poll before I move?
So before we do that, Nicole, before we give the results of the poll, what people are actually doing, how many times per week would you advise people to be posting content?
I think it's a personal choice. I think you need to, especially if you're building your brand, you need to start getting yourself seen and heard. So I always think 2 to 3 times a week is important, but we're going to come on to the kind of good content. And again, it doesn't matter. There's no point posting for the sake of posting. You need to post content that's going to engage with your audience. But the worst thing you can do is sporadically post. So you might post, say, today and then not post for another 3 weeks. So you're just getting lost in the crowd again. Whereas if you're consistently appearing in your feed, but what you're appearing with is adding value, then you're naturally going to start building a really good, strong brand presence in your market sector.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that question, Ben. So they share the results of the poll. You should be able to see them now. So our advice, heard from Nicole there, is you should be posting a minimum of twice per week, potentially 3, as long as it is relevant content, which obviously we're going to be moving on to. But it goes to show at the moment that we're not posting enough. Actually, 63% of nearly 100 people that voted are posting less than once a week. 19% 1 to 2, and it's only 11% 2 to 3. So goes to show again that we're not posting enough, and hopefully today we're going to give you the confidence to go out there not only to post, but to post the right things. Thank you for that.
All right. We had a really good statistic, didn't we, come through about posting. I think they said that 5 million LinkedIn users are online, but 250 million actually actively use LinkedIn each month. But only 3 million actually share content on a weekly basis. So that's only just over 1% of people that are active on LinkedIn that are sharing content, and that's driving 9 billion impressions. So if you're not sold on the idea of sharing content, now's the time to do it. I think we're all honest though in the fact that the reason why we don't potentially post is because we don't know what to post. But I'm intrigued actually to know why people don't post.
Yeah, so we'll run our final poll on it, guys. What we'd like to ask you this time is what stops you from posting content on LinkedIn? And again, be honest with your answers. I'm going to launch the poll now.
Whilst you do that, I'm just going to quickly go through some top tips around good content. So I think this is one of the big reasons why we don't, because we don't know what to post. But I'm going to just show you why you can and why we should change that right now. So number 1, create content around your experiences, good and bad. I don't know if you can see that because all I can see is the poll actually. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. So create content around your experiences. So posts where people admit to making mistakes are actually often the ones that work better than those that make you sound like you're amazing all the time. So don't be afraid to admit in a post that you've got something wrong, like, oh my God, this happened today, can't believe it. You'll find that people, like we talked about personal brands, can relate to you. They've been in there and they're more likely to engage with you because they're on a human level with you right now. So let's be honest, does anyone really want to keep hearing about how wonderful and how great somebody is? Not really. Yes, from time to time, if they've had a great successful achievement, of course you want to hear about it, but you also want to hear about the things that go wrong, because we know day to day that's more like the reality of the situation. So don't be afraid to post a good balance between what's been great but also what hasn't worked well for you, and you'll get great engagement on that. The actual content of the way you lay it out is also really important. Bulk text doesn't really work, especially if you're on mobile. Sentence by sentence posts are much more punchy, they're much more engaging, people are more likely to read it. So it's that less is more approach. Don't have loads of enormous blocks of text. We're going to give you a couple of really good examples of how to do that in a second in a couple of posts. Also, headlines are your hook. So kick off your post with a really good headline to get people reading more. So remember, everyone's fighting for attention on LinkedIn. You need to stand out. Be concise with your points. Have a quick and easy to digest content section that will spark ideally some discussion or people commenting on your post to drive engagement. A brilliant way to do this is raising debate. So Don't be afraid to be a little bit provocative with your headlines. People in our industry sector love a debate. They love to have an opinion. They love to challenge you on things. So give them the opportunity to do so using headlines like agree or disagree, or an open question that gets someone's attention really works. So you can ask easy questions when you start out. We see it quite a lot because people like to have a voice. So what was the best podcast you listened to last week? Or what's the best piece of technology you're utilizing right now? Or use voting options. This is a very popular one at Prime. Everyone loves that. It takes no time at all for someone to have opinion with a vote, because all they have to do is click on a button. So that works really well for engagement. And don't be afraid to ask people for their opinions. This is what I've heard from my customers, or this is what I've heard from my colleagues. What do you think? Remember, everyone's allowed an opinion, including you, so don't be afraid to put your thoughts out there too. Always have a call to action. So your post, you want to know when you're writing your post, what do I want people to do as a result of reading or listening to this, and then make that clear in the post. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. So you might as well put it out there. Mix it up. So there's loads of different options with your content. You can ask a question, you can tell a story, you can share an experience, you can share industry insight, you can do a vote, you can use visual images, you can also use videos, which we're going to talk about in a second. But there's so many different options. So if you're going to post 2 or 3 times a week, try and mix it up a little bit, but know what your target audience like. Look at what's engaging them, and then focus on those sort of posts moving forwards. And do videos. So don't be afraid to post a video. These are becoming more and more popular because they're perceived to be very face-to-face in terms of interaction, meaning your audience can get to know you better, and people will actually respect you for doing video content, because it's something that many people do feel quite uncomfortable doing. So statistics again, because we love a stat, 59% of executives would rather watch a quick short video than read a text on the same topic. And video posts get shared 20 times more often than regular posts. So we're going to take just take a quick look at how that's actually worked for our team. Before we do that, have you got the results for the poll, Neil?
Yes, I'll share them. So what stopped you from posting content on LinkedIn? 66% of people, again, nearly 100 people that took part, don't know what to post. So I think we've all been there, isn't it? I know I need to post, I just don't know what to post. And before you know it, a day goes on, a week goes on, and we've still not posted. And 41%, again, it's a fear of getting it wrong. And again, I think we've all been there. You know, what will people think? You know, a lot of people have the confidence to go out there and post whatever they think. And some people aren't as opinionated, and that's fine. A tip that I've kind of got for that is if you're worried about getting it wrong, use a subject. So for example, working from home is a subject at the moment. It's becoming more normal, obviously due to lockdown, but will working from home become the norm even after lockdown? What do you think about that? That's a way then of raising debate. Or you can also use other people if you're worried about putting your own opinion out there. For example, in speaking to some of our clients, they said that they feel that working from home will become the norm now in sales. I'm not so sure. What's your thoughts on that? So you can use other people if you're worried about getting your opinions out there. But the most important thing I would take away from that is we need to post. If we don't post, we're never going to build our brand. So have the confidence to do it, Nicole.
So just looking at some of those answers there, oh, it's gone now. Not knowing what to post. I think, again, this comes back to knowing your target audience. So you can actually see if there's a certain target audience you're going after, you can actually go onto their profile if you're connected with them and look at what activity they are liking and commenting on. And that will really help you understand what kind of content engages them, and therefore what should you be thinking about putting those posts out. Worrying about getting it wrong. Do you know what? We're in sales. How many times do we make mistakes on sales calls every day? How many times do we go, oh my God, why did I just say that? It happens. Nobody's perfect. You don't have to be perfect to be amazing. You just get on and have it go. Like, we're not going to get everything right. No one gets everything right. So the secret is to try and stay with positive opinions. So if you're going to put an opinion out there, try and stay positive with it, but don't shy away from it. So be moderately controversial and outspoken, but always protect your brand and protect your values. So always be thinking, is this true to myself? But don't worry about, no one's going to get every single post right, but you're learning, and it's all about making mistakes. And if post doesn't go as well as you wanted it to, it's not the end of the world. Like, you can just then go, right, well, that didn't work, I'll try something different. But if you're not trying at all, you're not driving your brand, and unfortunately there'll be other people out there that you're competing against that are, so you need to push forward with that. So we're just going to finish off giving you some examples. I don't know how happy Mo will be that I'm using her as an example, but Mo works in our team. She's been a sales resourcer for about 6 months now, and she just want to show you the difference in engagement on the kind of post that she's put out. So she's got just under 1,900 connections, all of which are really relevant and targeted within her market sector. So when she started building a LinkedIn profile, she made it really targeted to the right audience. So I've got 2 posts of hers there, one which was quite bulky, heavy text with an image, versus one that was a video content with much more sentence by sentence call to action, etc. So if we look at the bulky text, we can see that it's quite hard to read. The image isn't that exciting, sorry Mo, and as a result she's got a few likes, probably from the team, but the views around 1,700. Then if you move over to this one, which is her video, which she did last week, by the looks of it, about a week ago, you can see on there that she started off with a headline. So my #1 top tip for social selling in under 1 minute 30 seconds. So she's telling you what you're going to find out and how long it's going to take. So she's managing expectations. She's then put in here a call to action, comment your thoughts below. So she's asking for people to input, whether it's good comments, bad comments. She's not afraid of that. She just wants to know. So you can't get better if you're not getting feedback. As you can see, she's ended up with great engagement. She's had a lot of likes and engagement. She's had 35 comments, and her views are almost 1,000 more than when she posted just a bit of content with an image. So the power of video, the power of layout, the impact of having a good headline and a call to action really changes the level of engagement that you're going to get on your post. Also pulled one of yours out here, Neil. Do you want to explain this, or shall I?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really good example, because you've got Mo that is just kicking off in her sales career, and you've got myself that has been in sales for 20 years. It doesn't matter where you're at, but if you don't have the confidence to post video, then you're not going to. I made the commitment based on this training session that we're taking you guys through today, that Nicole hosted for the Prime team 2 weeks ago. I made the commitment I was going to post a video once per week. And I'm so glad I did. If anything, it came a number of years after when I should have done my first one. And you'll see the post of my second ever video there on the right. It was around key takeaways from last week's webinar. So that's why I'm saying you could maybe do one from this today. It adds value to people, because I'm talking about key takeaways and stuff that might add value to them. It gave me, I think, 74 likes and 2,000 plus 210, I think, views from what it says on there, compared to the post on the bottom left here, which Nicole is hovering over, that was promoting the same thing, an event, but obviously just had some content, and I'd shared a post which had far less and less than half the amount of views. So I think what I've proven, I suppose, to myself from doing this training is it's only you that's stopping you from actually raising engagement, from posting videos, and from building your brand. And if you're not going to have the confidence to do it and take yourself out your comfort zone, then you're going to have to accept the results you get. If you're willing to take that step like Mo did, I suppose like I did, irrelevant of where you're at in your sales career, then the results can be absolutely huge. So my advice, if there's one thing you do from today, is give it a go. What have you got to lose? Just give it a go.
Great. We've had a question here from James. In post, how relevant are hashtags and should we use them? Yeah, I think it's really important to use them. Again, consistency within your brand messaging. Hashtags are quite a powerful thing, because obviously they're driving traffic, but we always try and use similar hashtags, especially if we've got a particular topic that we're talking about within that post, then we'll always hashtag it, but also we'll hashtag along our brand as well. So we're recruitment, we're sales, we're graduates, so we always make sure those hashtags are in there too. Definitely.
Cool.
Okay.
Before we go through the key takeaways in summary, a few people have asked, will we share this? We will share the video, so you're able to see the slides and go through this. So we'll get that on our LinkedIn. Couple of questions we've got, Nicole, and then obviously I thought we could then just do the key takeaways.
Yeah.
Can we have an example of like a call to action that you can put on your messages for LinkedIn? And that comes from Jordan.
Yeah, hi Jordan. I hope you're staying safe at home. Missing seeing you in the office actually. Yes, here's a good example of a call to action. Comment your thoughts below. So what we're trying to do is tell them what they're going to get, keep it very simple, but then get people to act on what you're doing. So that's when, if you want people engaging in the post, it's good to ask them to do something. So again, that's why we're saying good ones are questions, or my network is saying this, what are your thoughts? So you want people to be actually doing something as a result. Similarly to here, to register, please use the link below. So always give them an easy route, but make it really clear. If you're not asking, the answer is always no, so ask the question anyway and see if we can drive that through.
Question that I suppose I'll take from Sue on this one, because I've just started posting videos on a weekly basis, is what's your views on videos and what would be your top tips? Sue, my top tips are, firstly, give it a go. I remember doing my first one, and this is the problem. It probably took half a day for me to work out what to do, then the other half a day to film it and then edit it and everything else. So your first one is going to take a bit of time. Just be wary of that, so plan it into your day. But then after that, you get a lot slicker, and you get a lot slicker because you get confident with it, because it becomes more normal. In terms of what to do in terms of content, anything that's going on that you believe you can add value to your target market. So for example, I wanted to talk about key takeaways from a webinar we've done around making people even better in sales, even though there's a crisis. So that was relevant to my target market, and I was confident in speaking about it because sales is what I do. So I think for me, stick to your expertise, talk about things that are active right now, real time, that will add value, and make sure that it's relevant to your target market.
We've also got a question from Alex here. Can you post too much on LinkedIn? Yes, probably. I think, again, it comes back down to being relevant to your target audience. So you need to be thinking, if I'm going to post this, what's it doing for my target audience? What do I want as a result of it? And if you can't think of anything, then it's probably not the right post to do. I think you do sometimes think, if as long as it's adding value, then it's well worth posting. But consistency is key. So don't post one this week and 5 next. Just try and filter it, so each week that you're starting to feed your brand through. But yeah, don't overkill. Don't post for the sake of posting.
Excellent. Sue's just replied, as well as doing a video, she's going to wear a branded t-shirt. Good shout. I mean, look at Nicole. She looks like she's on the Prime website. So bit of branding in there goes a long way. I think we've got time for maybe 2 more questions, Nicole. So I've got a question here from Harry. How do you juggle your own brand with the company's brand? So obviously your personal brand versus the company's brand. Really good question, actually. How do you go out there with that message? What's the right thing to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you have to line values on that one. So every business has values. Ours are honest, different, together. You've probably been hired with that business because you've got similar values. So the alignment in terms of making sure you're getting your own brand out there and managing your company expectations is to ensure that it is backed by the values. So if it sits consistently with your personal brand and the company's, then you can't really go far wrong. You'll see that I think some companies, you need to stand out, you need to be a little bit different. If every single employee in that business is posting the same thing, there's no uniqueness to it. You're just imitating, you're jumping on a bandwagon. You need to be a bit different, but as long as you're different yet professional and stick within the same values as your business, you should be absolutely fine.
Cool. And time for one more question. And thank you, by the way, everyone, for your questions. I'm sorry we won't have time to answer them all. But the final question I've got for you, Nicole, is how do you quantify the value of your personal brand? Again, really important. How do you know? How do you quantify your personal brand?
You have to be quite careful with that one. I think sometimes people value likes and comments in the wrong way. If you had loads of likes and comments on a post, but they weren't from your target audience, would you then see that as a good post? Potentially not. So look at what's working with your audience. So who's engaging with your posts? That's a really good way, because then if you've got people that you are targeting that are participating with your content, then you know it's working. Awareness to me is probably one of the big ones. everyone's fighting for LinkedIn attention, and you don't have very long to get people's attention. So I wouldn't judge by volume, I'd judge by value. So how many people are viewing your profile after you've been posting? Are your connect requests increasing as a result of you posting? Are people mentioning to you when they speak to you, oh, I saw your post on LinkedIn? Those are more valuable in terms of identifying that your personal brand's working and your posts are working, because what we want you to do is go, do you know what, as a result of posting, I'm starting to see much better engagement from my target audience. That's probably the key thing. I think awareness and engagement are the two that you should probably look at, and those non-visible messages when people are telling you they've seen you. A lot of people will see your post, they'll like them, they'll buy into them, they just don't comment or they don't like, because that's not what they use LinkedIn for. That's not a problem. You're still building engagement and awareness as a result.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, we are bang on time. So I think to conclude, in terms of the key takeaways, we've been asked quite a lot if we are able to share this. We will be sharing this video, so you'll be able to see that. So watch out for the Prime LinkedIn so that you can go through all the key takeaways and see the slides and everything else. But in summary, I think what we've learned from today, and like I mentioned before, this has made a massive impact to the team at Prime. So I know it'll make an impact for you, but only if you change and go out there and take yourself out your comfort zone and do something new. So firstly, make sure you update your personal brand on LinkedIn. You've got the action from Nicole, 3 key traits that come around your characteristics, and that's how you build your brand. Be consistent with that message from your first message all the way through to your 5th, your 10th, your 20th, and so on. And make sure that you are with the right target audience. You're speaking to the people that you want to do business with. Then connect with the right people. It's all well and good building up your connections, but better connections, like you've seen with Mo, only 1,600 connections, I think it was, or 1,900, but she had, you know, over 2,000 engaging with her video because people pushed it out and engaged with it. So it goes to show it's about connecting with the right people, and most importantly, adding value to them. You'll see stuff, people, key takeaways. The video that I posted last week was all around key takeaways to add value, not promoting sales and trying to sell to people, adding value to them. They will get you better and more engagement. And finally, we need to commit to posting every single week, identify with your target audience, mix it up, and remember, video content is the most impactful. The only thing stopping you from posting video is you. So give it a go. Anything to add, Nicole?
No, I think that's the thing. Really appreciate the amount of people. I think we ended up with about 125, 130 people. So that was amazing. So thanks so much. I hope you found it massively beneficial. And it will be recorded. So if there's anyone you think might benefit from it, then obviously we'll get that link out as well. Cool.
So we will get this video sent out, like we said. If you have enjoyed it, then please give us a shout out on LinkedIn. It would be awesome to get your positive feedback on there. And remember, if you want a good excuse to post a video, then maybe a key takeaways from this might be a good place to start. So give us a shout out on LinkedIn if you found it beneficial and valuable. We're doing our bit to change the perception of sales and do our bit for salespeople across the UK. Our next webinar is next Thursday at 11 AM, titled, Will Sales Ever Be the Same Again? And we've got some sales directors debating, will sales ever be the same after this crisis? I think a really good topic. So come and join us 11 AM next Thursday. Finally, thank you for Nicole. You've been awesome as always. Thank you to everybody that's listened in. Keep safe, keep well, and most of all, keep changing the perception of sales. See you all next week.